Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Scope. And now, here are your hosts, Jared, Adam, and Shane.
Hey everybody, welcome to part 2 of The Scope Takes on CONvergence 2016. Congoers in a cantina.
Congoers
consuming cocktails. This time around,
we're a few rounds in now.
Yeah, we're feeling good. Jared is here. Romeo has returned.
Did I hear you?
Metaphysically, maybe. This time
Your soul left your body.
This time around, Jared, we are talking about specific nerdy things, geek culture. But before we do, let's introduce ourselves. I am Shane, host of the show. My special mutant power is, you know, like when you shave and you think you do a really good job, but later on you feel like there's a couple little stubbles right on the corner of your mouth and you can feel it with your tongue? That's my mutant power. Jared, what is your mutant power?
You can feel mutant power with your tongue?
Exactly.
Or you feel mutant power.
What is your unfortunate mutant power?
My mutant power is when somebody suggests they want to do a podcast, I immediately start thinking about the gear they need, and then said person will then go to Amazon and buy it.
Wow. And Romeo, what is your unfortunate mutant power?
I fart a lot.
Wow.
Oh.
I think we all have that.
Is there? Can you channel it in any particular direction?
Yeah.
My wife claims I can.
It's like a tornado fart.
She was hanging out the side of our car as we were driving up here like a puppy with her head out the window.
Sounds pleasurable. Sounds pleasurable.
Poor woman. Oh, no. Hers are worse.
Wow.
Maybe his name is Jakku Wins.
Jakku Wins over there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jakku, Jared. See how we did that?
I like it.
So I got a breaking hot take.
Oh, hot take. Here we go.
George Lucas recently told Samuel L. Jackson that he would be okay with Mace Windu, or Windu, being alive, a.k.a. surviving his battle with Palpatine and a angry Anakin Skywalker. Would you guys be okay with that? Would you be okay with a Mace Windu solo film, maybe in the Star Wars anthology?
Not solo. I think Mace is more of a Hulk.
He's a Hulk.
Right. You want him with the other characters, but on his own, I don't know if he's as interesting.
Well, I don't know that we've had a fair chance at seeing who he is as a character. I mean,
Clone Wars.
Yeah, well, but that wasn't really Sam Jackson. See, Sam Jackson can carry the film.
True.
So, I would be okay with that. I think
He did play Mace as a bit of a one-note wonder.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Was he directed that way, though?
Faster, more intensity.
Intense.
Right.
Faster, more intense.
So nice short twist.
If Mace Windu or Windu is not the guy that's going to carry a solo Star Wars film, we know that Yoda's been talked about, which would be a disaster. We know that Han Solo is going to get his own solo film. We know Boba Fett is confirmed.
He might be in the Han Solo movies.
Who else out there could take on one of these Star Wars anthology films? Whether it be original trilogy, the first 3 trilogies, the new trilogy, who do you want to see?
I want to see a Lando, for all honesty. That'd be cool. I'd love to see a Lando and Lobot adventure. They had their little mini comic run, and I thought it was really interesting. You got a lot of good backstory.
You could actually do that in a movie, couldn't you?
I would love to see a Lando movie.
And a Leia. I'd like to see a Leia. Or actually, I'd like Padme to be... I'd like Padme to be redeemed.
Not treated with the utmost respect that she probably deserves.
I'd like to see a Padme redeemed movie.
I don't know if you can hear the deep fried cheese curds that we're just delivering.
There he goes.
I don't know if you can hear the clogging of my arteries as we're doing this.
Let's get in close now.
Jared and I have talked about this. This is not an original take. But I have said from day one, a Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi movie would probably be one of the few characters from the original, I don't even know what you call it, the first 3 movies, 1, 2, and the prequels.
Yeah.
He's about the only guy that I would really care to see run away with it.
Well, because we get to see his adventures, and we'd also get to see some interaction with probably a child version of Luke.
Does he leave Tatooine? Does he stay there the entire time? Is there a reason he has to leave the planet first?
And plus, it's Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, which we've already seen as one of the better things from the prequel trilogy.
Right.
Yeah,
I'd like to see a C-3PO.
You think that could happen?
No.
It'd be tough.
It'd be annoying.
So
I'd like it just to annoy people.
Don't disgrace me.
Yeah.
So how should the current...
Beth is going to confuse.
How should... Jared, stay with me. How should the new Star Wars universe deal with the prequel era? Should they treat it with reverence? Should they continue to essentially ignore it?
Well, here's the thing: is they're not ignoring it because the character that what's his name plays in Rogue One. What's his name? I'm blinking crazy face, crazy eye.
I'm gonna start texting you. I'm like, stop.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah, he was the King of Scotland, or
Yeah,
whatever?
that guy.
Oh,
Forrest A. Whitaker.
Forrest Whitaker. He's playing a character who originated in the prequel era, in the Clone Wars.
But most people wouldn't know that.
I know, but it's an acknowledgement of what has come before, and they're not. It shows that they're not specifically ignoring everything that came from that era. So I don't know. What was the question?
Jared and I, Romeo, what's your take on this? We've talked about this. Secretly, we think, wouldn't it be great if Lucasfilm just decided to redo the prequel trilogy in a way that keeps most of the story, but yet doesn't have all the bullshit that people dislike?
but that's the Clone Wars cartoon.
It is,
And
but
they already did it.
But you still sort of have the bigger pieces that are like the building blocks between the Clone Wars, right? So maybe
You don't need a 28-minute pod race.
yeah.
Replace it with a podcast scene.
I just sort of feel like if you could chop the prequel trilogy down to about 3/4 of a film, you've got yourself a winner.
Oh, come on. Here's where you'll hate me. I actually like Revenge of the Sith. I think there's some big issues with the way they treated Padme in it. But overall, I like it more than Return of the Jedi.
Jared, better or worse than Return of the Jedi?
Worse, but not by much.
Yeah, I sort of feel like, by the way, I like Return of the Jedi better, but I mean, that's sort of in the sweet spot of my nostalgia zone, so granted, I'm tainted on that. Taint. But you wonder if the prequel trilogy was done today, and maybe even done by someone that understands Star Wars from a fan perspective rather than living it, it becoming from their brain. And I know that sounds crazy to even think that you'd have anybody else but George Lucas do that stuff. But maybe you get a different 6 hours of movie making that really nails everything you want to right on the head.
Well, but I have to make a commentary on that point.
Please.
That's a really. When we did do that, and we got JJ, and I like Force Awakens a lot. Like, I smiled through that whole movie.
Yeah.
But people were like, "Oh, but it's not taking any risks. It's just Star Wars again. It's a New Hope."
You can't have it both ways, assholes.
Yeah, and my point is I think
Thank you.
Lucas, as bad as it was taking fucking risks. He wasn't making a Star Wars movie again, the typical way that fans thought a Star Wars movie should make. He was making his idea, and good or bad, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he was at least doing his own thing.
He stuck to his vision. If anybody's read the making of the books, you know that none of the, many of these ideas in there existed in some form, as far back as the early 70s.
Right.
It doesn't mean they were great ideas. Doesn't mean they were executed well, but they did. It was a part of what his thought process was. So the question is, was he lucky?
No.
Was Star Wars a lucky gambit?
No. Lucas is smart. Lucas, I love it. Like we love to bash Lucas in fandom, but I always say this: where would fandom be without Lucas?
I want to know you're doing royalty.
Where would we be? We'd
be ignoring the 50th anniversary of Star Trek at this very convention.
Yeah, if we didn't have Star Wars, we'd be ignoring that.
We'd have very slow-moving ships in space to this day.
We'd have no Indiana Jones. We'd have no ILM. Where would special effects be if it wasn't
completely different place?
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be where. How far would have Spielberg been able to push it? Well, he would have been the torchbearer.
Lucas started that. Where would Pixar even have been?
Jared, Mr. I hate Pixar. Where would it be?
Why do I hate Pixar?
I don't know. I'm just throwing you under the bus.
Just because I don't flock to every new Pixar film anymore. I mean, I hate Pixar.
Old man Jared in the house.
In my day, we had to animate things themselves.
In my days, houses had balloons on them and they floated in the air.
Didn't use no fancy computers to make them fly. You flew your house yourself and you liked it. You loved it.
I didn't need a fish named Dory. I had Nemo.
Wow. So,
What was the question?
no question. I think the thing that will probably go down, it will be interesting how history looks at the influence of George Lucas. It's sort of in a quiet zone right now, but I think that you cannot deny his power and what he's done, both good and bad. But by far, way more positive stuff came out of the Lucas
absolutely.
era, and it should never be doubted. It should always be there.
Without the prequels, we wouldn't have had the Clone Wars, we wouldn't
Sure.
have had Rebels, and we probably wouldn't have had Episode 8.
Sure.
And 7 and 8 and 9.
Well, okay. So speaking of 7, 8, and 9, spoiler alert: Han Solo dies in 7. But the question is, how long can Luke and Leia even be in this universe? Will they be in any more than one more Star Wars?
I think Luke can, unless they want to make him, like, really take him down the Obi-Wan path and kill him off and make him a Force ghost. But I mean, there's already a precedent for the older Jedi wise man, so I think Luke can be around as long as they need him to be. Leia, on the other hand, I don't know.
What confuses me is that JJ talked about, or Kathleen Kennedy talked about Star Wars, the new prequel, or the new trilogy rather, being the continuation of the Skywalker legacy, and we really haven't seen that much.
Have we?
I mean, you have Kylo Ren, but he's sort of half Skywalker. I mean, when you think of the Skywalker thing, you obviously think of Luke Skywalker, and I know that he was sort of used as the MacGuffin of the first episode, the first new trilogy. But I'm wondering how much you're going to see of them. I mean, just in terms of logistics.
Right.
At some point, you have to move on from the past.
Well,
it has to be the story of the new character.
But it is. But these trilogies, the prequels, the original, and now the next set of trilogy, to me is like the Superman, right?
Right.
We have Superman. And we're only hinting at Batman, and we're only hinting at the Green Lantern Corps, and we're only hinting at Flash, and we're only hinting at everything else that's in there. So basically, it's like 1938 for Star Wars.
Sure.
And so I look at it as these 9 films are the Skywalker saga.
And then after that?
And everything between and after that is something else in the universe.
Yeah.
Just like we get Rebels, it has nothing to do with the Skywalkers.
And I think if this new trilogy really is tracking Kylo Ren, if he's the Skywalker element, I think that's a completely valid arc. I mean, because the prequel trilogy is, the fall of Anakin. The middle one is the redemption of Anakin, and now this, and the rise of Luke, I guess. Right. And so this new trilogy can certainly be the
Vader nostalgia?
Well, or the redemption of Kylo Ren, maybe, who's
the rise and fall, or just the complete fall of Kylo Ren?
I think he's a valid member of the Skywalker lineage,
or that
without a doubt.
Or it's Rey.
Or it could be Rey. We don't know for sure.
Rey is the one that brings balance really to the Force.
Yeah.
So
wherever she comes from,
and so
it's not Luke. I would almost bet anybody $100 right now Luke is not her dad.
It's too easy.
Yeah.
Well, no, but even the producers and JJ said you did not see her parents on screen in The Force Awakens,
which I'm fine with.
Sure. I mean, if that is one way to push it past the Skywalker legacy. At some point.
And maybe the trilogy is really it's the end of the Skywalker legacy through Kylo Ren,
sure, right.
And then it's the beginning of Rey's story and whatever additional family comes from that later on. Who knows?
Does that make you sad, Jared, that the Skywalker is a limited proposition?
It doesn't make me sad. I mean, you can't tell that story forever.
You can't.
You gotta at some point wrap it up. I mean, we thought it was done already, but there's a little bit more to go. I just as long as it's a good story, I'm fine with it. I'm not going to be sad.
Yeah, you can't say like, oh, is the Superman story done?
Yeah,
the Batman story done.
I mean, just if they're done telling that story and it wraps up with this trilogy, it doesn't mean that I can't go back and watch those other trilogies again and again and again and still enjoy the story over and over. it's still there.
Right.
So, hey, we had 3 movies and we were happy with that, and then we got 6 movies and we got still sort of happy with that.
Sort of.
And now we're going to get even more, and it's just it's all gravy as far as I'm concerned.
Here's my thing with the prequels. They have a lot of problems. Phantom Menace is almost unwatchable. Attack of the Clones has some moments. And
Attack of the Clones is worse than Phantom Menace, in my opinion.
Shit, no. We'll have a talk after the podcast.
I think big parts of it are, definitely.
I can't watch Attack of the Clones. I find it boring as shit. And I think it's too much, even more CGI.
Who cares about CGI? Is a tool. It's not.
It just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right.
You have to see
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
No, you have to see. I did a cut of episode 2. That made it feel like Star Wars again.
But that's the thing. If you have,
Moving on.
If you've got to do a cut, then there's problems.
I didn't say there weren't problems. I said,
Way more problems.
I said Phantom Menace is. I can watch elements of Attack. There's more elements of Attack of the Clones I can watch than elements of Phantom Menace.
All right.
Phantom Menace I can only watch the lightsaber fight at the end. Podcast I can't watch because it's that.
You can't watch a podcast?
Oh yeah, pod race.
One would listen to them.
Yeah.
You'd be listening to that.
Sorry,
like a son of a bitch.
on my 3rd beer, the pod race, because it's like you get those dipshit
Actually, on your
ESPN
second beer.
You're on your
One
second
right.
beer. This is reserve beer. No, he's
done with that one.
He's done. It's too warm.
All right. What's your next question?
Wow. Romeo's got a comment. He's got a statement to
I'm
make.
just saying, you never heard of anybody in their 40s or even mid-30s in the 70s walking out of Star Wars going, that movie changed me. That was the best movie ever. It was all kids and teenagers. Again, having stepkids that were at that ripe age when Phantom Menace came out, they loved it. You know, I mean, it was their...
That's a whole nother episode, though. The power of modern myth and how that has changed from Star Wars on, because it is different than what it used to be.
This is a fucking cider.
Uh-oh, did they mix it up? Did Angela drink a cider? Or did you have a beer?
Did you get a beer? I got a cider. I'm wondering if you got my beer.
Wow.
You would know if that happened.
Yeah.
That one doesn't like beer.
You don't want that cider, is that what you're saying?
He's out.
Well, you should tell your bartender that.
Your barkeep. So, here's a question,
Yes.
Jared. Star Wars Celebration happens in London
Excuse me.
in just a couple of weeks.
Indeed.
And we'll wait till...
Just maybe perhaps days away from this episode.
Cider, not Excelsior.
Oh, they didn't. I'm sorry. I'll go get you the
Okay, all right, thank you.
We'll cut it in post. Romeo, Star Wars Celebration...
We're not cutting anything. That's
Star Wars Celebration
getting all
London
of that
happens in a
sound.
week and a half or so. Are you guys as amazed as I am how tightly, like especially Rogue One stuff, has been kept under wraps? I mean, we are 6 months out, and we have seen exactly what Lucasfilm wants us to see. Pretty much nothing more, nothing less, except when they did some of the early filming, a couple shots.
Yeah.
I'd say impressive, right? I mean, I'm not crazy when I say that.
They did a good job with The Force Awakens as well. I mean, yeah, there were leaks out there too, but as far as the official promotion stuff, you only saw what they wanted you to see.
Completely on message.
Even with
almost all the
like
time.
dozens of TV spots, you were just getting a little bit more of certain scenes, and so big moments of the film were completely a mystery to us.
Right. And plus, I think Rogue One is a little under the radar. So it's not the big 3, one of the big 3. You know, people aren't as like, oh, what's happening in Rogue One, except for fandom and all that.
Us being 3 of the most foremost geeky anthropologists on the planet. I think it'll be fascinating to see how the general population reacts to Rogue One. Oh, look at this. They're hand-feeding each other. I think this will be... I think the movie will do well, no matter what. It will do well. Will it be a typical episode 7 box office return? I don't know. I don't even know if they expect it to be. But just to see how...
though, because the rumors have been that they're changing it to be a little bit more like The Force Awakens.
Let's talk about that for a second. Is that just the nerd population? Is that mass media looking for a story that is not there?
Yes.
I feel that way as well.
There was an interview with the DP And he said, for God's sakes, if we were changing more than 40 or up to 40% of this movie, we would never make our release date.
Yeah.
That's insane. And he said, we are changing dialogue scenes in cockpits for the most part.
Okay.
And how much truth is there to that? I don't know, but just speaking about logistics, you can't refilm 40% of the movie. You don't know anything about movie making.
You can't do 40% of the movie this summer.
Yeah, it's coming out in 6 months. They've got special effects stuff where they're locking into very specific scenes.
Every single scene has an effect shot.
Yeah, so
and there's no way. No way.
Whether it be serious or maybe they lighten up a little bit. I just think people are excited to see how you can tie the story into the original Star Wars and it be like a full-bodied experience.
I'll say this is the first movie that has nothing to do with the Skywalker.
Yes, I mean they're
Darth Vader
ancillary.
He does make it right, but he's not the star.
Correct.
Right? It's not about him.
He's going to come in. He's going to grumble a little bit. He's going to have one scene where he chops people up, and then.
I'm very happy James Earl Jones is doing the voice.
Yeah, he's 85 years old, right?
Yeah. So look at Jinx. We both said 85.
I guess I cannot talk until someone buys me.
I guess I'm carrying the show from now on.
Is this a cider?
No. We're going to change this all to Snorks now because that's the only thing I know how to talk about.
Snorks mythology. That's right. They got that right.
There you go.
You can't talk.
So we'll probably see a new Rogue One trailer in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Probably in a couple months. My guess is
I think it's Star Wars Celebration. They got to show something. They always show.
But they might show cut like actual scenes.
So we'll see scenes. What will we see from Episode 8? A year and a half away. Will we see anything?
I think this. I think we might see some leaked shit in Celebration, the photos. Same thing we saw for leaked Episode 7 would be sketches and artwork and stuff like that.
Sure.
But Episode 8, we've seen a lot of on-set shots already leaked out.
Yeah.
We've seen a
Mostly
lot
we're involving the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
Well, and all the stuff in Ireland, like here's where
It's a hut. This is Luke's
all
hut.
these huts, and then the gambling planet or whatever.
I didn't see that.
We don't know what that is, Romeo.
Like where you see them drive by and shoot things where the people are gambling and stuff.
Interesting.
So there's been go to makingstarwars.net. They're all on there.
Jared, you're there right now.
No.
He doesn't like spoilers.
I don't want to.
The thing that that I'm looking forward to is just seeing what we can do with the universe.
Yeah. Opening it up,
having fun with it, and I really hope at least Rogue One does over 300 million here and over $1 billion worldwide. If it does that, we're safe with that.
Yeah.
If it
Those are
doesn't,
pretty good numbers too.
Well, they still have Han Solo following up. That will be a bigger draw no matter what.
but that's still original trilogy characters. What I'm hoping to open up the universe truly with new characters that we've never heard of. It just happens to be in the Star Wars universe. Rogue One needs to make its money.
Yeah. And I don't think
it needs to be a hit.
You won't see any of what you're talking about until after Episode 9. I think that will be the where we're doing something completely completely out of the realm of
They're
what we're
going to
working
tie everything into having something.
Yeah.
I just hope I do not fucking hear one person say, "Oh, another fucking Death Star in Rogue One." No, it's the same Death Star, and fuck you.
Well, there's going to be something that think.
Yes, Death Star's important.
Is that the real deal now?
Let's pivot away from Star Wars. We've asked this question on our scope program before, Romeo. How much pressure is on DC/Warner Brothers to have some sort of success with Suicide Squad? Or does it not really matter until we get to the Justice League film?
I think any big budget movie has a fair level of this better work.
But we talk
Any summer
about
release is going to happen.
We talk about these shared universes. We talk about what goes into creating a superhero world. For right or wrong, Warner Brothers hasn't been able to pull it together.
Well,
you can't.
Are you talking financially or critically?
I think that it is underperformed financially compared to what they thought it would be, and critically, it is definitely underperformed. I'm not saying it's a failure. I'm just saying it's not the levels that they want it to be. And that's speculation because I'm not in Hollywood.
Here's the thing that I think the biggest problem is DC has to stop trying to compare itself to Marvel. DC just has to do what DC wants to do.
Don't you feel like by not comparing themselves to Marvel, that's what's got them into the situation in the first place?
Because they compared themselves to Marvel and made a conscious decision to do anti-Marvel. What they need to just do is have something organic and natural to them. I think, but you're talking to me. I liked Man of Steel a lot. I like Batman versus Superman a lot. I like that for Marvel. My problem with Marvel is they're all starting to bleed into one. I can't tell which movie is which anymore.
Sure.
Because it's all like one long movie.
But isn't that intentional?
Yes.
It's completely intentional.
It's very intentional, but the problem is that I couldn't tell you. There's times when I thought a scene, I'm like, yeah, I love that in Age of Ultron. No, that was Winter Soldier. Oh, I love this scene. Yeah, I love that scene in Ultron. Oh, wait, that was in Civil War.
Is that a bother, though?
Yeah.
For you, it's a bother. Jared, is that a bother to you?
It doesn't bother me. I'm kind of happy with the one long continuous story.
It's like a comic book. I mean, they're following a comic book model.
But comic books have different stories that are also standalone. And I think Marvel is sinking their teeth too much into the shared universe and not letting enough standalone.
Well, definitely in the film part of it.
Cinematic universe. Yeah.
Well, but in the cinematic universe, that also encompasses your Netflix shows and your ABC broadcast shows, and those are telling their own unique stories.
Right, on TV, and so is DC. Actually, people would argue DC is actually more popular on TV.
It's better.
Yeah.
It's better. But it's not the same
That's
universe.
all opinion. That's all art, right?
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
I love.
That's why we get out of bed in the morning.
Baby. I love the DC TV universe, but I also love that the cinematic, the film universe is different. I like that they're not the same because if I can watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at home, or I can watch Daredevil, or I can watch Jessica Jones. When I pay money for Civil War, it better be something to me that is a little bit more.
Sure.
And what I'm starting to find is they're starting to feel the same. Like, to me, I'm going, why isn't this just in that... Marvel setting up one continuous universe is great, but it'd be great if it was television.
Sure.
To me, it's not as great to do it for film all the way through. It's good to have some parts that are shared, but you should have some standalone stuff. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, the reason for me it works so well is that it has nothing to fucking do with anything else in the Marvel Cinematic universe.
Yes.
Do you think Doctor Strange will be the same way?
Doctor Strange will exist on its own a bit.
I hope so.
And the Thor movie will be the same way.
Yeah. It's just my problem is the tone. The visual and musical tone of those of the Marvel movies are so just like we were building up to Avengers, and since we got to Avengers, everything's just the same. It's all level.
You feel like they're not willing to take the risks
They're not
anymore?
building up to anything else. It's just like remember when it was a big deal to watch the end credit stuff. Now when you watch the end credit stuff, you're like,
You're used to it.
Whatever.
That's the problem.
You know, right.
Once you do it, you've got to figure out a different way to do it.
You've got to, and that comes down to lazy writing. You know, like love or hate Batman versus Superman. You can't tell me that risks weren't taken. You can't tell me that that they didn't go for broke on visual style, and you can't tell me they didn't go for broke on musical. I can remember those themes. I couldn't hum a single theme from a Marvel movie.
Can you hum a theme?
I'm not a theme hummer.
But you can remember the Superman the movie theme.
Write down theme hummer.
Theme hummer. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. But you can remember Superman the movie.
Yeah.
You can remember Tim Burton's Batman.
True.
Yeah.
Can you remember
1989.
But can you remember the musical theme of that?
Sure.
Whether you're a Hummer, can you remember the musical theme of Avengers: Age of Ultron?
I'm a robot. I'm a weird guy. I got it. I nailed it.
There you go. That would have been awesome.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of with Jared. Like, I respect what Marvel is doing, kind of creating this new paradigm for a merging of TV and movies, which are really not as merged as they could be. So that's a whole other issue. The crossover's there, but it isn't always there.
And that's business.
Yeah, and that's a problem that it is that
way. You
way.
can't bring that up. And,
I've said this before to Jared and Romeo, I'll say it to you. My biggest issue with DC from day one is they haven't All right. They haven't earned what they tried to do with Batman and Superman, which was create this giant shared universe and then sort of expect us to understand and be invested in it because it was just plopped in front of you.
Well, here's the thing, though. I will argue that.
Please argument it with me.
I say they have.
Get off your Twitter, Jared.
I say they have.
Catching up.
The key word, though, that I will take away from your argument is the word shared. We have had ongoing films of Batman. We had Superman Returns. We had all the Donner Superman. We had Superman 3 4. If there are two comic book characters that need zero introduction and zero backstory to, it's these two.
Couldn't agree with you more. I could not agree with you more.
So to me, Batman versus Superman is a good way to introduce the Justice League, which does need the introduction.
But it was done poorly. You have to admit, and that's what I'm talking. I mean, people know. Superman and Batman have been known since well before we were born. I mean, they are the iconic superheroes beyond anyone. And then maybe you put Spider-Man in there in a number 3 position. So I agree with you 100%. I just feel like using it as a vessel, because that's really what it was, a vessel to lay the groundwork for Justice League. It didn't work for me.
I'll say this: as vessels go, I'd say Marvel's Iron Man 2 was a shit ton worse than Batman versus Superman.
It was not a great film. But here's the movie.
I'm just trying to say
Iron Man 3 was worse.
Iron Man 3 not great either.
I don't like Iron Man.
Yeah, I hate Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
I'd almost think Iron Man 2 in the last 15 years is probably the worst superhero. Worse than Last Stand. I'd even say fucking worse than that Wolverine Origins, the first one. And that's shit.
Yeah.
You know?
This is what you do, Romeo. This is how you solve half of Batman and Superman problems. All of the Justice League reference in there. You cut it out. You have an after-credits scene that's 10 minutes long. You have all of that stuff introduced there. There you have a tight Batman-Superman film that focuses on Batman and Superman. And then all of a sudden you've laid the groundwork for Justice League. And then you got it.
I agree.
Why aren't you a Hollywood executive?
No, I agree. You're
copying Marvel, but you're doing it correctly rather than doing it incorrectly.
But I don't know if Marvel's done everything correctly either.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
here's my problem with
proof
Marvel.
is in the pudding. I mean, you want anything else?
No.
We're good.
Marvel, the problem I have with Marvel is I'm starting to see them write themselves into a box. They're writing themselves, having to keep everything, all this continuity going. They're starting to have to force everything. And what I mean by that is this. Iron Man 3, the end of it. Would everybody agree at the end of Iron Man 3, Tony Stark has, in cinematic terms, cured his PTSD of New York. He has decided he's not going to make any more robot Iron Man suits. He takes out the art director and declares himself as Iron Man, and only him as Iron Man. When we say at the end of Iron Man 3, that is the conclusion that they come to.
Can you verify that, Jared?
I would agree with that, yes.
Age of Ultron, within
Back
3
to square
minutes,
one, essentially.
we're back to square one. Civil War,
Same
back to square. They keep rebooting Tony Stark in order to fit the circle into the box.
They need Iron Man to be Iron Man.
Right. They can't just let him. So from a cinematic universe point, I don't think they're doing that. Comic books, yeah, it all made sense. I get where it's coming from. But the characters they've created cinematically are now, with Tony Stark, it's like we got constantly reboot him. Tony Stark has become the MacGuffin.
He's a MacGuffin.
He's become the MacGuffin of the fucking films.
I think it will lead up to something in Infinity War that then you will see some sort of universal reset or something different.
That's my problem. They keep resetting.
Yeah, well,
they reset Tony Stark in order to tell another story.
You read comic books. That's what they do. DC's reset their universe 3 times in the past 10 years.
No. I get that, but we're talking about 2 different mediums. I'm fine with it in comic books because you can have like 4 different Iron Man comic books. Problem is what they're choosing is like, well, we're going to choose this one Iron Man comic book as our thorough line, and then we're going to force in these other stories to reset it without them just being different books.
Is this a case of what we talked about in the last episode of where it's become time to shit on it?
Romeo, are you shitting on
Are you
this?
shitting on the Marvel Universe?
No, I loved Civil War. I did. But what I don't like is this. I don't like that people are comparing Marvel and DC. I hate that. I think that they should be allowed to live their own way in their own universes, doing their own thing. I feel fortunate that I happen to agree with both sides and like where both are going and what they're doing. I just don't see, what I don't like is the hypocrisy of fandom that will give all these breaks and easy breaks to Marvel, yet hold DC up to this whole different standard where they better get it right no matter what, yet anything with Marvel, they come up with, they're defending it. They're like, well, that happened. Well,
Isn't it because Marvel has
Marvel has a
spent
body
years
of
building
work.
our trust,
They've
though?
got a body of work.
body of work, DC goes back to 78.
But
No, but just from a cinematic
it's a
standpoint.
cinematic.
78.
But 78 doesn't tie into what they're doing now. I mean,
No,
you're
it doesn't,
kidding
but
yourself.
I'm trying to say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is very new. It's only 10 years old, or 14 years old, really. Well, actually, it's less than that. It's 9 years
And
old.
the DCU really only started with Man of Steel,
Right.
which was what year was that?
2012? 13?
I don't know. Not that
13,
long ago.
2013.
So I totally understand what you're saying, but I think that saying you can't compare the two is like saying you can't compare McDonald's and Burger King. They both do what they do. I mean,
Right, but you're allowed to like both.
I agree with you.
And you're
absolutely.
you're allowed to think some of McDonald's is bad and some of Burger King is bad.
Not
you're
the
saying is-
original chicken sandwich.
My thing is that I really think there are people that go Marvel or bust.
I think you're kidding yourself.
And why isn't DC? How many times have we heard why isn't DC following Marvel's rules? Why isn't DC doing it the Marvel way? I actually give credit that DC is doing it their own way. I like the darkness. I like that it is like this weird fucking gothic opera.
I don't disagree with you either. I think that's an interesting take on it as well. And I'm in your camp. I kind of liked good chunks of Batman versus Superman. And yeah, it's probably not fair to take all of this goodwill and these and the successes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and try to apply those to DC and expect them to play by the same metrics. It doesn't make sense. They need to blaze their own trail, and if they're obviously choosing a different path. And yeah, that's not going to work for everyone, but they should be judged on their own merits, not in comparison to Marvel.
Well, and there's something that happens to DC that doesn't happen to Marvel. DC movies are prejudged a year out. It's some self-fulfilling prophecy. How many times did we hear, as soon as Ben Affleck was cast, as soon as Zack Snyder's confirmed as director, people were like, we're going to hate it, and we need, and so they go into the
But
movie.
is that because we're living in sort of this post-successful MCU world where Marvel has proven a successful path to making these films, and any misstep by DC is going to be viewed in extreme critical light, even though it probably shouldn't be.
Well, right.
They're not allowed to make any mistakes, even though Marvel made lots of mistakes early on, but they were still sort of young and they were finding their way.
It's like, does anybody talk about the Incredible Hulk with Norton? Does
Agreed.
anybody talk with
It's
Iron
bad
Man
book.
2?
They don't.
You know,
Because not as many people were paying attention
Even people
then.
that talk about the first Thor.
They were trying to find their way.
Yeah,
The problem
but
is,
they don't hold them to their feet to the same fire as the whole DC to find their way.
You have a whole social geek situation that's sort of set up by that. I mean, what Jared's talked about. I mean, it's like you can't judge DC like you judge Marvel in 2002. I mean, it just isn't possible.
Right, and then there's a bit of the whole Christopher Nolan Batman series coming to influence that as well, because those were very successful, critically successful, beloved by fans for the most part. I had my own issues with them, but they
Dark
were
Knight Rises
successful.
sucks.
What's
I'll
that?
say it.
Yeah.
Dark Knight
You
Rises
had one
sucks.
really good Batman movie out of
Pretty
the
much.
three.
I
That's
love
what
Batman Begins. But Batman Dark Knight I like more just for Heath Ledger's
Yeah,
Joker.
exactly.
Well, and sometimes that's all it takes.
And I will still say I don't really particularly care for Christian Bale's Batman. He's a fucking mouth breather.
Agreed. But my point is that you have like these two paths coming in that are sort of influence how people view the current DC incarnation, even though it's not connected to Marvel, it's not connected to Christopher Nolan other than through a producer sense. And so it really should be allowed to exist and flourish on its own and be able to find its feet. But clearly a lot of people are not going to give it that chance, which is strange to me.
Because, like, the thing that basically it's this. To me it was this. Marvel embraced the fantastical, and DC embraced the real world gritty.
And she sells.
Because it's so, Marvel embraced the fantastical because of X-Men and the Spider-Man franchise before they got into their own studios. DC embraced it because of the Dark Knight trilogy. So I get why they both went their separate ways. I just think that fans have a really hard time letting things change, grow, become different. 10 years from now, we're going to have a different Superman, right? We're going to have, like, maybe the most poppy Superman ever. 10, 20 years from now. Same with Batman. We might, 10, 20 years from now, we might get the super gritty Spider-Man.
You never know.
You know, it's just that I don't get why people can't just go with the flow and honor that we live in a time that we are getting 3 to 4 superhero movies a year.
Yeah.
A shit ton of science fiction movies.
It's pretty amazing.
TV is, CW might as well just be called DC TV.
Correct.
You know, and
It is peak geek, Romeo.
It is.
We're a peak geek.
Oh, yeah,
And it's
Or have we not yet? Are we still on the upward climb?
Well, could be, but it's the same
Cover
thing.
this ground, buddy.
Geekdom has found the same thing that alternative music found in the early 90s. When we were all listening to music, they're like, oh, I don't know why they don't play this on the radio. And then when it became big, we had all these other bands, and they're like, oh, I liked them before they came big, and blah, blah, blah. Same thing's happening with Geekdom today about film and comic books.
So let's jump to one last question, and then we're going to wrap this up.
Sounds good.
I want you guys to explain to me the hatred towards the new Ghostbusters movie, because I don't understand it.
Twofold.
Oh, good. Romeo instantly has an answer.
I do.
He's got his term
That's why
paper.
you're here.
Well, twofold is this. First fold is what everybody's saying. There's
Fold the first.
Yes, fold the first is yes. There is a sexist bent towards it, where some guys are very upset that there's women taking over their beloved roles. Gotcha. That's fucking
I was
ridiculous.
going to say you support that 100%.
No.
Your
I think
opinion is invalid,
yeah,
sir.
I think that's fucking ridiculous, and get the fuck over it.
Yeah.
You sexist, stupid fucking assholes.
There
up, you
is
man
not
babies.
one rational argument for that.
Right.
Not one.
Not one. The second one does have rationale. The trailers haven't been that great.
Right.
There was an international trailer that was a lot better than
Right.
anything domestic.
Right.
For sure.
But domestically, they haven't seen anything that says, why make another Ghostbusters movie if we're not going to make it funnier?
Yeah.
Or funny.
Which is weird because individually, the entire cast is very, very funny.
Yes.
Very funny.
Now, break that down a little bit more. Paul Feige's the director. He's never had a good trailer.
Paul Feig.
Paul Feig?
Kevin Feige.
Kevin
Paul
Feige.
Yeah, that's
Marvel.
right, Paul Feig.
I get it
Sorry.
wrong too. I get
Paul
it wrong too.
Feig. He's never had a good trailer. The trailer for Spy wasn't that great. The trailer for The Heat wasn't that great.
Well, the Heat wasn't that
The
great.
Heat wasn't that.
Fuck you. The Heat is awesome.
We're going to argue about that one.
And
That'll be our next.
the trailer for Bridesmaids wasn't that great. But when nice, common, sane people saw them all,
Am I not allowed to dislike a movie?
God damn it, this is geekdom. You're not. No, I'm kidding.
I must
of course
love
you
the
are.
Heat.
No. But we can admit that the trailers were never that good for all of them.
Sure.
And for the record,
You know?
when that second trailer hit, I went and rewatched the original Ghostbusters trailer.
Not that
It
good.
wasn't great. It was good. I mean, it had funny moments, but it wasn't like, wow, this is going to be
Right.
a classic of all time.
Right.
It just,
So here's the thing. I just want it to live or die on the merits of itself.
correct.
And my fear is this, is you're going to have one side of chauvinistic fucking asshole dudes that would never say they like it and never give it a chance because it's women. And then you're going to have the feminazis on the other side going, the only reason why you didn't like it is because it was women, and not taking into account story, comedy, timing, direction, anything else. there's going to be this weird fucking implosion with that.
Yeah, I will say this: any hubbub over this film totally confounds me. It makes no sense to me. It's much ado about nothing. I don't. It's a non-issue. It's a non-starter. It shouldn't even be in the lexicon of nerd
It's
comics.
got to be better than Ghostbusters 2.
It's
That's
another-
really all it has to be.
Even if it isn't, any complaints about this film, you will never convince me that you're an asshole.
Right.
You can remake movies to your heart's content. It doesn't matter because the movie is 31 years old.
Yeah.
You know, my kid doesn't care about a 1985 movie. Why should she? Casey Kasem is in it.
Yeah.
She doesn't know who Casey Kasem is.
Right.
And why should that be the gold standard for anything?
Right.
Things are remade all the time.
Yeah, it's another in the long string of remakes / reboots / sequels many years after the fact.
Let's not redo a Shakespeare play. Jesus Christ.
Where the negative response is completely disproportionate to what it should be.
And what I don't get is, like, when you talk about reboots, sequels, reimaginings, whatever, that is literally like 5 to 6% of the movies actually released that year. You know?
And you know what?
It's not, you think about...
It just happens to be most of the
big
larger
one.
budget stuff.
Right.
And that's the nature of Hollywood right
If
now.
it insults you, get a life. It doesn't matter because there are a million other things you can go watch.
And there's really only one way to stop it, and that is to not go see it. If you're really so against any
That's
sort
what I
of
love. You have to
history
get
don't see it.
History has proven that people will go see things that they know. God damn it!
Well, fucking hey, you know what? Wizard of Oz was a remake.
Sure.
You know, it's
Wizard
like,
of Oz, Jared, your favorite movie of all time.
was a fucking
Asshole.
remake.
Flying
So,
monkey, son of a bitch.
Remake of what?
Of Wizard of Oz in the 20s.
It was a remake of the...
Wizard of Oz was a remake of a movie in the 20s that was Wizard of Oz.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
there was a Wizard of Oz film before the one we all know.
Doesn't look so good.
Okay.
it's-
I learned something today. Today I learned. TIL.
So it is literally just bullshit for people. If I'm remaking it, it's not going to take away the original. It's not going to fucking throw it into the ground and bury it so you can never see it again.
But
It's
that's
just
all
another-
people
If you
going to want to
complain
talk
about
about the
it, you
new
just
one.
sound like
Oh,
an old,
shut up, Earl.
you sound like an old fart if you complain.
You do.
about it. Do I like that? You know, all these movies are being remade. I could take it or leave it. But
Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're
sometimes
bad.
it works out. And you know what? It's not that big of a deal. Go vote for somebody important in the real world and worry about Ghostbusters some other time.
Well, my thing is this, you know what? Let's never have another Batman movie made then.
Sure, it's the same story.
Because they really are in some sense
You know what?
telling
Why
the
are we
same
making
story.
Spider-Man Homecoming? This is the third actor to play it. Why ever do another James
20
Bond
years,
movie?
right.
Technically, every new Bond actor that comes in as to play Bond, it's rebooting the series.
Yeah, pretty much. All right.
The world is not always about where you were when something was cool and popular. That's a life lesson to learn.
And just have
Thank you.
fun. Fucking have fun.
Ghostbusters
Let
could
go.
be great, Darren.
I'm
You're complaining to me about it. It could be great.
I'm hoping for it.
I think it's going to be fun.
All along, I've been saying this cast is excellent. I would see this cast in any movie.
Yep.
At the same time,
Of course you
I'm
would.
not sure that we need another Ghostbusters film, but I will still see it, and I will still have an
But
open
my thing
mind.
is
And
this.
if it's a good film on its own merits, I will say so.
And here's my thing. If you are going to reboot, wow, they're going for broke. Way to go.
You're not
You're-
find four funnier women together than these four.
Oh,
and
hell
that
no.
is that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And one thing, the scope that you don't know about the scope, Romeo, we don't ever go see a movie, good or bad, hoping that it's bad.
That's the difference between
We
good.
always want something to be good because why would you waste your time otherwise?
Even
know
if
what I
it's
love?
good because it's bad.
That's my difference between a film snob and a film lover. A film snob goes into the movie going, you better prove why it's worth my time to be here. A film lover goes into the movie hoping that everything is awesome and fun.
There's nothing better.
I'm a
than,
film lover.
There's nothing better than being pleasantly surprised, a la Central Intelligence when we saw that movie.
Hell yeah.
We
Was
thought
that funny?
we thought
I
that
wanna
movie was
see
going
it.
to be a snooze fest, and we walked out of there going, they actually got something here.
Did you see the interview that they did as each other?
No.
So they interviewed each other, and Kevin Hart played The Rock, and The Rock played Kevin Hart, and they can't stop cracking up trying to ask them questions. And Kevin Hart does the best rock.
That sounds great.
It's worthy of your time just because what you've seen in trailers and TV commercials does not represent what the movie actually is.
All right.
So there we go.
And I love The Rock. And I love Kevin Hart.
Well,
so we're good.
Rock, you'll love
If you
this
love The
movie.
Rock, you'll love this movie.
Yeah.
I think those are the words we can live by, and those are the words we can use to close this edition of
Indeed.
CONvergence 2016. The Scope visits it.
Right on. If you'd like to get a hold of the show, you can email us at comments@thescopeshow.com or call our voicemail line at 612-21-SCOPE. I don't know what those numbers stand for. I usually have it in front of me. Sorry, folks. If you'd like to reach out on social media, we are on Twitter, Facebook, and Tumblr. All those links are at our website at thescopeshow.com. I'd say watch us on YouTube, but this episode probably won't be on YouTube because it's audio only.
We are all audio.
Yes.
You don't get to see our beautiful faces.
But if you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/thescopeshow. Pledge as little as $1 an episode, set a monthly cap, and cancel anytime. We hope you don't cancel.
Please don't.
But you can
I
support
did,
the
but
show.
I've had it with this thing.
Or if you'd like to...
You were already putting your own money into it.
I'm over it.
Or if you'd like to do better than Romeo did when he recently shopped at Amazon nearly an hour ago.
What? I got some
You
great
go to
shit.
You can go to
thescopeshow.com.
thescopeshow.com/Amazon, click on our affiliate link, and a small part of your purchase will go into our pockets.
That is your issue. I was on Amazon and you never once said, hey, go through the scope.
We
when I was
can't do it
there.
on the app,
I
though.
didn't think about it. That's true, you can't do
Wait,
it.
no, I like his answer better. I didn't think about it.
Anyway, back to you, Shane.
All right, well, Romeo, thank you for
Thank
spending
you.
5 hours of your time with us.
I hope this is the first of many times you invite me back
You
on
can
this
be on
show.
any time you
so.
want, as long as we give you permission.
Anytime. I don't know about
Exactly.
that. That's,
As long as I have your permission.
There we
we
go.
got to put you on moratorium for that.
That's right.
Put you back in the Disney vault, and then we'll unlock you.
You're like
Wow.
Snow White 1992. So for Romeo and for Jared and for Adam in, what's the word, in absentium,
Hey now.
I am Shane.
Absentium, yeah.
Absentium. This has been the Scope of CONvergence. Thanks for listening, and bye for now.
Ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves once again at the end. I hope you've enjoyed our time together. I know I have. Fear not, Scope faithful. The days shall pass as if they were but a moment, and Jared, Adam, and Shane will return with another thrilling episode. Until then, send your comments to comments@thescopeshow.com or leave a voicemail message by dialing
612-21-SCOPE. That's 612-217-2673.
Thanks for listening, faithful fans. This is Tony Partington saying Belle nuit. Tune in next time to another terrific edition of The Scope.